Harlem, 1953. The notebook was small. Cheap brown cover, corners worn soft from pocket friction. Inside, 19-year-old Jerome Carter's careful handwriting filled every line. Each entry followed the same format: license plate, date, time. One-word note: White Buick, September 14th, 11:12 p.m. Connecticut. Black Ford, September 15th, 2:30 a.m. River direction. Connecticut again. September 16th, 11:58 p.m. Warehouse. Last entry, September 17th, 11:42 p.m. Jerome's body was found the next morning. But before we get to what Bumpy did when that notebook landed on his desk, you need to understand one thing first. The police report spelled Jerome's name wrong. The report was 3 pages, five paragraphs. The first line read, Victim, James Carter, 19. Shoe shine operator. James Carter. There was no James Carter in Harlem. Harlem, 1953. A neighborhood held together by people who refused to let it fall apart. Jerome Carter showed up every morning at 5:45 in the morning, set up his shine box at 145th Street Station, and got to work. 19 years old. 5'8", lean, with eyes that missed nothing. He had turned down jobs that meant leaving Harlem because his aunt needed him. He stayed. Every single morning. He had been working for Bumpy Johnson for 2 years. Not as muscle. Not as a runner. Jerome was something rarer. He was eyes. Bumpy had a dozen men who could break a jaw. He had almost nobody who could sit on a corner for 8 hours. Memorize every face, every plate, every pattern, without drawing a single glance. Jerome could. He kept his notebook without being asked. Bumpy never told him to write things down. Jerome just understood. Information without record is just memory, and memory fades. So every suspicious plate, every strange car, every white face where white faces had no business being at 2 in the morning, all of it went into that notebook. That boy sees everything and looks like he sees nothing, Bumpy told Illinois Gordon once. That's a gift. September 18th, 1953. Thursday morning, Jerome did not show up at 145th Street. By 9 a.m. a fisherman found his body near the Harlem riverbank. Face down, one arm stretched toward the water. Officers Donald Reed and Frank Cavallo arrived at 9:47 a.m. Reed took one look. Cavallo said, "Gang violence." Reed nodded without kneeling down, without checking, without asking a single question. He said, "Wrong place, wrong time." 3 lines, filed by noon. Case number 534471. Victim, James Carter. Not Jerome. James. Word spread through Harlem the way bad news always does. Fast, quiet, devastating. His aunt Clara May Carter was 52 years old. She sat in her apartment on 139th Street and could not stop shaking. Jerome had promised her he was being careful. She did not know about the notebook. Illinois Gordon walked into Small's Paradise back room at 4 p.m. He placed the police report on the table, then the notebook beside it. He said nothing. Bumpy picked up the report. He read it once. His eyes stopped at the first line. James Carter. He set the report down and picked up Jerome's notebook. He turned the pages slowly. 4 months of entries. Hundreds of plates. Hundreds of mornings. Jerome on that corner, watching Harlem breathe, writing everything down, trusting that it mattered. Last entry, September 17th, 11:42 p.m. White Buick, Connecticut plates. Warehouse location 2 blocks from the river. Bumpy closed the notebook. "This boy kept better records than half my operation," he said quietly. "They wrote James," Illinois said. "His name was Jerome," Bumpy said. Bumpy stood and walked to the window. He looked down at 135th Street. The vendors, the kids, the old men on stoops. His Harlem. Jerome's Harlem. Connecticut plate, owner, address. Why, he has been here 3 nights running. Pull that police report. Who signed it? Who closed it in 3 hours? Who told them to? He turned from the window. And Clara May Carter, Jerome's aunt. Rent, food, everything. She does not ask. We provide. Illinois worked through the night. Joey Numbers Catalano traced the Connecticut plate by midnight. White Buick. Anthony Ferraro. New Haven, Connecticut. Age 44. Lone Shark. Known associates. Tommy Risch. Muscle. Carlo Mena. Driver. 3 arrests. 0 convictions. Witnesses had a habit of changing their stories before trial. Ferraro had been in Harlem because someone owed him money, not Jerome. Jerome's cousin David, who had borrowed from Ferraro in the spring and vanished by summer. Ferraro had come to collect, and Jerome had been on that corner, writing in that notebook, the night Ferraro's Buick sat outside the warehouse. Ferraro had seen Jerome writing. That was enough. A 19-year-old with a notebook was a loose end. Ferraro didn't leave loose ends. By 3 a.m., Illinois had one more name, Officer Donald Reed. 2 envelopes from Ferraro's driver in the past year. That's why the case closed in 3 hours. That's why the name was wrong. Reed hadn't even bothered to ask. Bumpy didn't rush. He had breakfast. He read the paper. Then he visited Clara May personally, sat in her small kitchen, drank her coffee, and listened as she talked about Jerome for an hour. She told him how he fixed the leak under her sink. She told him how he had been saving for night school. She told him how, the week before he died, he said he was going to make something of himself. Bumpy told her that he already had. He meant every word. On September 20th, before dawn, Bumpy sent 3 men to the warehouse on River Street, the address in Jerome's last entry. Ferraro was still in Harlem. He had stayed an extra 2 days, still looking for David Carter. That was his mistake. They found Ferraro and Tommy Risch inside at 4 in the morning. Ferraro went for his gun. He did not get there. Tommy Risch, 6'2" and 240 pounds, tried to put up a fight. It lasted about 45 seconds. Both men were carried out the back. What happened in the next 2 hours was never recorded. No police report. No witnesses. The warehouse sat quiet until morning, when a sanitation worker noticed the back door open and called it in. Officers found nothing except 2 sets of personal belongings, wallets, watches, keys, laid out neatly on a table. It was as if someone wanted it known that these men were not coming back, and someone made sure of it. Carlo Mena, Ferraro's driver, heard what happened by 6 in the morning. He did not wait for a conversation. He drove straight back to New Haven, walked into the New Haven Police Department and asked to speak to a detective. He confessed to being present the night Jerome Carter was killed. He named Ferraro as the man who gave the order. He named Tommy Risch as the man who carried it out. The detective asked why he was coming forward now. Carlo Mena thought about it. Because the alternative was worse. The confession sat on record. Ferraro and Risch were never found. The case was officially listed as unsolved homicide with a named suspect. It was closed for lack of living defendants. Officer Donald Reed reported to his precinct on September 21st and found his captain waiting. An anonymous tip, detailed, documented, impossible to dismiss, had outlined Reed's relationship with Ferraro. The 2 envelopes, the dates, the amounts, and the deliberately falsified report on Jerome Carter. Internal Affairs had already been notified. Reed did not even sit down. He resigned that morning, cleaned out his desk by noon, and left the precinct without saying a word. He was gone from New York by the end of the week. Case number 534471 was reopened and corrected. Line 1. First page. Victim, Jerome Carter, 19. Finally, the right name. Jerome Carter's funeral was held at Mount Olivet Baptist Church on September 23rd. 300 people came. Vendors from 145th Street. Families whose shoes he had shined for 4 years. Kids who had grown up watching him on that corner every single morning. Bumpy sat in the back row. He did not speak. He did not need to. After the service, Clara May found him outside. She pressed something into his hand, a small, worn brown cover, a second notebook. Jerome had kept 2. Clara said quietly that if anything ever happened, Mr. Johnson should have this one. Bumpy opened it. Different entries, not plates, not times, just observations. Things Jerome had noticed about Harlem, about people, about who protected it and who exploited it. 19 years old, writing like a man who understood everything. The last page had 1 line and no date. Harlem only survives because some people refuse to look away. Bumpy closed it. He kept that notebook until the day he died. Jerome Carter wanted to go to night school. He was already making something of himself. Every morning, every entry, every Tuesday and Friday, he showed up and told the truth about what he saw. The system gave him 3 lines and the wrong name. Bumpy Johnson gave him back the right one. If this story meant something to you, subscribe right now. These are the Harlem stories history tried to bury. Like this video if Jerome deserved better. Drop a comment. What would you have done in Bumpy's position? Turn on notifications. We are dropping these every week. Jerome Carter, 1934 to 1953. He saw everything. He wrote it all down. Harlem remembers.